Good afternoon and welcome to the Garden of Odin. It's a rainy day, and a rainy day is always a good day for books. So I want to go over a number of the field guides that I have that I've collected through the years for wildflowers. Now I focus primarily on Midwestern wildflowers, or wildflowers and plants that are native to the prairie. Not so much the Rockies, not the East, not the South, and not... So I focused on plants. So my collection focuses primarily on books about plants in the Midwest, which would be the prairie region. And that extends from the Rocky Mountains all the way east of the Mississippi, almost to the Appalachian region. And even there are going to be a lot of the similar plants as you might find in Illinois, Indiana, Ohio, Iowa, Kansas, Oklahoma, up in the Dakotas, Michigan, Minnesota. So these books encompass primarily the central region. As you know, the climate here is fairly consistent from one state to the next, amount of rainfall. Of course, there are microclimates, so there are going to be some differences. But if you're looking at starting a wildflower garden, if you want to have species that are specific or native to your area, you do need a good guide. That's going to get you a lot further down the road. And as someone who loves books, I just tend to buy a lot. So I've started some of the first guides I bought were these more common ones, such as Peterson's Field Guide to Wildflowers. Now, another one is the National Geographic Wildflower Guide. You can see how small it is. And then an Audubon Guide, Wildflowers of the Eastern Regions. I don't recommend these for anyone who's seriously looking at plants for their own landscaping, for their own garden, or if they wanted to propagate or have a nursery. These are really more for people who are out on a walk and just they see a plant, oh, what is that? As you know, anyone who's familiar with the Audubon guides, the front section is photos, and then you have to jump to the back to read the description. And generally these descriptions are very concise and short, and there will be a sketch, as you can see often. But I actually wouldn't recommend the Audubon guides for wildflowers. So that's out for a serious wildflower enthusiast. Again, this is very limited, and it covers all of North America. So there's no way you can cover that kind of information in a small booklet like this. You're going to miss a lot of the wildflowers that you're looking at. Plus, it includes a lot of introduced species that you might see more on a walk in a disturbed area, maybe in a state park, maybe around a campground. So you're not going to get much information from this. And again, Peterson's Field Guide to Wildflowers, I don't like it simply because it has very short descriptions and it has very simple black and white drawings. Plus it does have a few segments of colored pictures in there, but it's just not that helpful. So I would not recommend these for anyone who's seriously wanting to learn about wildflowers. Let's turn to some of the books that I found more useful. Missouri Wildflowers. Now this goes back to my opening statements when I was talking about the climate across the Midwest, Missouri, Iowa, Kansas, Illinois, Indiana, being very similar, so you're going to see a lot of the plants. So you don't have to worry if you buy a state-specific book, you're still going to see the plants in surrounding states. This is set up nicely as far as colors. There's only one picture, unfortunately, generally, but there's a fairly nice description. For instance, daylilies, those are very common, and not just in the Midwest. But it will say native of Europe. So you can tell the plants that you're reading about. Again, it'll tell origin, country of origin, or region of origin. It has nice pictures in there. So this one's okay. I wouldn't rule this out. Plus it has some drawings in the back. And then additional information about these plants and a nice index. So that's not a bad one. One that I actually like better, and it's faded because it's in the front of the vehicle a lot of times getting sunlight, is Wildflowers and Grasses of Kansas. Remember, it can have a state name on there, but it's going to cover everything in the Midwest. This one has some lovely pictures, and actually, for instance, the catclaw sensitive briar I found in a prairie remnant in Missouri that's just right across the border from Kansas. So, Kansas wildflowers, but Missouri. And this has some nice descriptions. It's hard to demonstrate this, but this has nice descriptions, nice pictures. It covers a lot of plants. So this is one I would recommend. This is Wildflowers and Grasses of Kansas, Field Guide, Michael John Haddock. This is Missouri Wildflowers by Edgar Dennison, 6th edition. So, and this is Missouri Department of Conservation. So this is, again, a good publication. If you're just interested in grasses, this is probably one of the better ones. A lot of field guides also do have some grasses. Grasses are hard to identify in pictures or by drawings, and this is fairly comprehensive, but I still have trouble identifying some grasses, or there are some that I know I've seen and I can't find in a guide. But if you're just interested in grasses, whether they're for ornamental purposes or just to identify what you have in your prairie remnant, or you want to add some diversity to a meadow or a prairie that you're trying to establish or restore, this is an excellent guide. I've saved, though, for the last, my two favorites. This is actually a small guide as well, but it's Shrubs and Woody Vines in Missouri. And it actually has drawings, not photos, but they're very good, they're very reliable, and I have identified a lot of plants and shrubs and vines with this booklet. So it'll tell you, for instance, if it's in all of Missouri, which you know is going to be in the contiguous states, or if it's in a very localized area like the boot heel, these crab apples, narrow-leaved crabapple in particular, for instance, is just in the boot heel area of Missouri. Nonetheless, I would strongly, strongly recommend this book. Don Kurtz, Shrubs and Woody Vines of Missouri. But the best guide, if you want a serious, an excellent, excellent guide to wildflowers of North America, I would buy the National Wildlife Federation Field Guide to Wildflowers in North America by David Brandenburg. This is so well done. It will show different varieties in different regions. It covers all of the United States, not just the Midwest. However, as you know, a lot of the plants that we see, as I just said, are here, and the Rocky Mountains and the Pacific Coast area doesn't seem to figure as prominently into this, but there's always a little strip, or there's often a little strip. And so this book has a color regional map, or a color location map as well. So I would strongly recommend this book. I just picked it up recently, and I have flipped through it some, and every time I've picked it up and referred to it, I've been very impressed with it. So the two books that I most strongly recommend as field guides or guides for wildflowers in North America, especially if you're talking about the Central States region, would be Shrubs and Woody Vines in Missouri, and then by Don Kurtz, and Field Guide to Wildflowers in North America by David Brandenburg. And this is a National Wildlife Federation publication. Now, another thing I do want to say though, anyone, and for grasses, I would recommend the Field Guide to Common Grasses of Oklahoma, Kansas, and Nebraska, which of course includes Illinois, Missouri, Ohio, Indiana, the Dakotas. But any of these books, even if it's a Peterson guide, which is probably put together by a committee, even though there's apparently an author, and the National Geographic Pocket Guide, to accumulate the information in the drawings, photos, etc., for even a small book like this is an impressive effort. So I'm not trying to say that this is a bad effort. I'm just saying that it's probably not going to be your best guide if you want more than just a guide. you really want information about plants so you can learn to grow what you want in your region, these two, and then also this grass guide. Thank you, and have a nice day.